Hello and welcome to Sunday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, and a debut on the channel today for the constructor Jolly Rogers, and a puzzle called Corners and Some Lines. And I've read the rules to this one and they are crazy. We have to divide the grid into squares. I know it's already sort of divided into squares, but other squares, and then those squares have properties that we're going to use to try and solve the Sudoku. It sounds fascinating, and it's been spoken highly of by the likes of Fistamafel. So if you are familiar with the channel, you will know the sort of praise that this puzzle has garnered. And as Maverick literally took off 40 seconds into the video, I'm about to get buzzed past by an aeroplane zapping past my window. Apologies if you can hear the noise. But yeah, this is going to be today's puzzle fare. Now, what can I tell you about before we get started? Over on Patreon, we have got this fantastic new Sudoku hunt from Glum Hippo. Let me show you a picture to do with that. Oh, picture's in the wrong place today. These are snake egg patterns hidden in real Sudoku puzzles, and snake eggs are, you can see that the areas left behind by the snake have to have sizes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. It is a fascinating constraint. Those of you who watched Friday's video will know how cool the logic in snake egg puzzles is. So do if you're a patron, firstly, thank you for supporting us. Secondly, there is this fantastic Sudoku hunt over there right now, and you've got until the 20th of the month to enter the competition. In other news, there are just 2 birthdays to do today. I've caught up on my birthdays post-vacation, so we have a normal number of birthdays. We'll start off by wishing Samuel a very happy birthday today. He's been watching for a couple of years and left us with a little bit of a brain teaser to work out his age. His age has moved from a square number to a prime number this year, and last year was a multiple of 7. I will leave it to the erudite among you to work out Samuel's age today. Many happy returns, Samuel. I hope you have a brilliant day filled with enormous amounts of chocolate cake. And then Asher. Asher, you have turned 35 today. Not too far from Samuel's age, I think. I know this because your wife Hannah wrote to us. Hannah told us that you watch every day, and you are the 3rd member of the marriage. Oh, sorry, we are the 3rd member of the marriage, not you. No, you're definitely in the marriage. We are the 3rd members of the marriage. Such is the part that we play, especially in your life, Asher. So, Asher, thank you for watching, and I hope you have a brilliant day today with, of course, enormous amounts of chocolate cake. And with all that said and done, we can turn straight away to trying to solve corners and some lines and see what Jolly Rogers has in store. These are the rules of the puzzle. Normal Sudoku rules apply, so we've got to put the digits 1 to 9 once each in every row, every column, and every 3 by 3 box. Now, divide the grid into non-overlapping square-shaped regions. The sum of a square's 4 corner cells must be divisible by the number of cells that square contains. E.g., the sum of the corners for a 3 by 3 square must be divisible by 9, because a 3 by 3 square has 9 cells in it. Knowledge bomb. Every cell must belong to a square, and a 1 by 1 square region is not valid. So every square in the puzzle has to be at least a 2 by 2. Okay, the cell containing a red circle cannot be a corner of any square region. Orthogonally adjacent cells separated by a square region border must have the same parity, odd or even. So what does that mean? So if that was a square and this was a square, which I've just realised it can't be, because, oh no, that's fine, that's absolutely fine, isn't it? Because this is not, what did it say? It couldn't be at the corner of a square, I think. So it can be at an edge. I'm just going to check that rule to make sure I understand it. Where is it? The cell containing a red square cannot be the corner of any square region. So this is absolutely fine in terms of its position. But the thing I was interested in is, let's join. These are square borders, aren't they? And I think what we're being told is if this was even, this would also be even. If this was odd, this would also be odd. So they have the same parity across the border there, which is a weird and wonderful rule. And then, okay, and there's only one more sentence of rules. No, two more sentences. Square region borders. Square region borders. I misread this earlier when I read the rules before I turned on the webcam. Square region borders divide each blue line into segments with the same sum. Each line must be divided at least once. Wow, okay. I thought these were going to be region sum lines. Now in a region sum line puzzle, I can now see that wouldn't work. In a region sum line puzzle, it's the box borders that divide the lines. So that would tell you that that square has to be the same, have the same sum as the sum of those 5 digits, which is clearly nonsense because the triangular number for 5 is 15, which we can't write into that square, this cell here, the green square. But the reason this works is that what we're actually being told is, let's have a go. I mean, let's just make 2 3x3 boxes. Nothing wrong with that, is there? If these were the squares that we were drawing into the grid, we'd be saying these 3 cells. Well, let's draw one up here as well. These 3 have the same sum as this cell, which in turn has the same sum as those cells, and then we'd have to have one in a box down here as well. So that in fact, if this was the correct arrangement, those 2 cells would have the same digit in them, and it would be equal to the sum of those 3 and equal to the sum of those 3. What a weird rule. Do have a go though. The way to play, I think it's got 4 stars out of 5 for difficulty on Logic Masters Germany. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. But now I get to play. Let's get cracking. There's a touch of Aard van der Wetering about this line, isn't there? Now, I tell you what I might do to start, and this is somewhat silly, but at least it will allow me to do something. The cells in the corners of the grid can't be isolated, can they? Because 1 by 1 cells are not allowed. So each corner section of the grid must be at least a 2 by 2. It might be bigger than 2 by 2, but it's got to be at least 2 by 2. Now, golly gosh, what on earth do we do next? Okay, this one can't be a 4 by 4, because if this was a 4 by 4, it would totally subsume this line, and that's against the rules. So this is either a 2 by 2 or a 3 by 3. I was going to say I feel like it can't be a 3 by 3, but maybe that's not true. If it was a 3 by 3, that would be at least a region. Oh no, I'm wrong. No, okay, I'm wrong. That I was thinking that couldn't be a 3 by 3 because it would break this line, but I've suddenly realised that's total and utter gibberish. If this was a 2 by 2, this couldn't also be a 2 by 2. That would be impossible. And the reason I can see that's the case is that this digit then, whatever square this was in, it would have the same sum as this digit, and that would be equal to the sum of those 2 digits. But this doesn't need to be a 2 by 2. Although it can't be bigger than 4 by 4, because then it would totally subsume the line. This one, similarly. Oh, this one is either a 2 by 2 or a 3 by 3, because it can't take that square as well. And this is the longest line, isn't it? This has got to be somehow divided up. Oh, this can't be a 3 by 3, because then that will be a corner. So this is either a 2 by 2, a 4 by 4, 5 by 5 might be possible. No, because those two couldn't be in the same square. I was just wondering about this square. That's never at the corner. I'm wondering if I can sort of make an X pentomino out of that. Is that logical? So that's not... It can't be there. It can't be there. It can't be there, and it can't be there. None of those patterns are possible in terms of how this grows, and it must grow. So I think you can do that. No, that might be wrong, actually. I'm just going to delete that yellow thing because it's distracting me in terms of how I think about this. No, okay, because why couldn't I do that and have it in the middle of the side? I could do, couldn't I? Providing it's in the middle of the side, we're okay. So it's something to do. I think it's something to do with this, in terms of exactly what it looks like. But quite how I'm meant to view this, it can't be a 2 by 2 like that. It can't be a 2 by 2 like that, or like that. All of those things are impossible. But it could be. I mean, actually, it couldn't be that specific shape, because that would leave an impossibility behind, wouldn't it? If that was the shape, none of these could be in a square, because the square that one would have to be in would be a 1 by 1 region. So that doesn't work. Why can't I get this here? I want to say this has to be... I want to say this has to be sort of interior to a square. But I mean, it could be... It can't be that either, because that's going to break these squares. So there's definitely some sort of qualification that we can do by reference. Maybe I do have to think about it by dint of the corner. So if this was a 2 by 2 in the corner, then this becomes interesting, doesn't it? I think. Because this can't then... Well, could this be a 2 by 2? If this is a 2 by 2, maybe it can be, actually. And then you could have that sort of shape. That would be fine. Thus. Okay, alright, so I'm still not there. Ah! How to think about this? It is either... There are many shapes that are impossible. Yes, okay, maybe one way to think about this is to try and ask this question, and this might be a bad question, but there's supposedly no such things as bad questions. Is that possible? And if you do that, I think that might be a problem. And that's because we know that this is part of at least a 2 by 2, which means this square is definitely yellow. Now, we can't leave this cell isolated. So in fact, that square would now be yellow as well, wouldn't it? Now it gets interesting, because we know that this is not allowed to be the corner of the square. And if this is not allowed to be the corner of the square, it must be the midpoint of a side, but we don't know the length of the side. So we're forced to do that. And now we can't, it's a 3 by 3, it can't be bigger than 3 by 3, so this is broken. So actually, I have a feeling there's a very simple way of seeing this, but what we've now learned is that those two squares are actually, they are part of the same region, let's call it that. They are part of the same square. They cannot be different colours. Now, that logic is presumably going to work for this square as well, he says, hopefully. So if we do that, we have to do that, which means we have to do that. This can't be the corner, so we have to do that, and that's broken, because this has no possible place to go, and this is the maximum size this can be. So that is sensible. So actually we get there, we get there. Now, because this has to be a square, now this can't be the extent of this. So we are going to have to extend either here or both. Now, well, yeah, so I think probably what we're going to need to do is to consider some of these lines in terms of how we do this. I didn't think the start was going to be this circle. I sort of, as I read the rules to it, I sort of almost glossed over that as a sort of disambiguator. But the more I study this, the more I realise it's actually under pressure. Now, so as it extends, this is at least a 3 by 3. We know this is because it has to extend either here or both. And if it did, so maybe that's what I've got to do. If it takes this square, then it's got to take this square. It couldn't leave behind these two squares, could it? So actually then, okay, so if it takes that square, it is a part of at least a 4 by 4. Oh, there isn't some global constraint, is there? There was some rule about the corners of a square. The sum of the square's 4 corner cells must be divisible by the number of cells that square contains. Right, so if you had a 5 by 5, that would have to, the corners would have to sum to 25. That's possible. If it was a 6 by 6, 36 won't work. Imagine there was a big 6 by 6 in the grid. In fact, we can draw it. The corners of this square have to add up to 36. Well, even if they were all 9s, they would add up to 36, but the 9s would see each other by Sudoku. So in fact, there is just a flat-out cap on the size of the square we can draw, and it is 5 by 5. So, well, problem with that, there's many problems with that. So hang on. Right, so whether I take this one or this one, this is at least a 4 by 4, I've realised, because let's say it took that one instead. This one can't be isolated as a 1 by 1, so we'd have to go down. Right, so the actual size of this is at least 4 by 4, with the possibility that it reaches 5 by 5. Now, if it reached 5 by 5, we'd have to be careful it didn't subsume too many of these lines. Well, how do we do this then? So, I don't know is the answer. Maybe we'll try it this way again. So if it took this one, it's now not the middle of it, it's not a corner, so that's fine. We've got to take this one, we've got to take those two. And now we know this is part of at least a 4 by 4. Okay, and it can't go up, can it? Because if we took those squares, let me just show you this. This cell would be the sum of those 6 numbers, which is going to make this square have to be far too large. So we'd have to take, oh, that's great. That's great. Oh, in fact, that's really good. So that means if this is ever in this shape, actually that one is as well. I wonder if we can do that the other way round. So if that one is in, then we know we have to take the bottom 2 digits. So we know we're looking at a 4 by 4 now. Now this is more complicated this way round, because I would like to prove that I have to take this digit. The only way I don't take that digit is if I take those digits only. Now why is that a problem? And the answer is it probably isn't a problem. That would be a 2 by 2. That would be a 2 by 2. Oh, that doesn't work, but it's complicated. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to do this because it is complicated. So what I'm noticing is that the only way I can if I do take this one, the only way I can not take this one, given that this must be a 4 by 4 at least now, is to leave this as a double. Leave this gap. I've got to not take this, which forces this to be a region. It forces this to be a region. It forces this to be a region of some size, but we don't know how big it is. But the point is, all four of those digits, all four of these digits have to sum to that digit. And those are 4 different digits. And that number, triangular number for 4 is 10. 10 is not equal to whatever that digit is. So actually, we end up in a situation where however this grows, it's got to grow there, and it's got to take both of these squares. And now it's a 3 by 3, but it can't leave these behind, and it can't leave those behind. So it's now a 4 by 4, and it's either a 4 by 4 or a 5 by 5. Right, but it's not a 5 by 5, is it? Because if it was a 5 by 5, have a look at this line now. Well, actually, no, that can't work because this and this are going to be in different squares, and they're going to be the sum of those 2 digits and the sum of these digits, and they will have the same total, and they are in the same box of the Sudoku. Good grief! Right, so the start, as far as I can see, is to note that this is a 4 by 4, and therefore this shape is at least a 2 by 2. Let's use different colour. Let's use red. Oh, that's lovely. This is at least a 2 by 2. So, but purple and red. No, okay. Purple and red can't be the same. Because if purple and red were the same, that would be a 5 by 5, and that line there wouldn't ever be divided, and that was a rule. Each line must be divided at least once. So, red and purple are not the same, which means one of them needs to take this. Yeah, that's it. Right. So imagine, so we know something has to collect these squares. It's either red or purple. Imagine it was red. Now that is forced to be a 2 by 2. And look at this line. That digit is the sum of those 2 digits, and whatever square this is in, those 2 digits will be the same number. Well, that can't work, can it? So that is purple. This is red. There's a little 2 by 2 nesting in there. Look, let's use. Oh no, I was going to use light green, but I won't be able to see it. I use grey. I might have to reuse colours here to make it all look pretty. This is interesting. What about that square? That can't be a 2 by 2 because this square would never be in a square. So that's a 3 by 3 just by force of nature. And now that's isolated, so that's got to be in, yeah, so row 1, column 1, I think has to be a 3 by 3. This is weird. We've still got the possibility down here. Oh no, green and blue down here are not the same because that line would all be within the same colour. So we do have to make the same decision here. Right. Well, if blue grows like that, then that number will be the same as that number, and they're in the same box of the Sudoku. So green grows, blue doesn't. There's a 2 by 2 nesting in there, look. That must be a 2 by. This is weird. It's just filling itself in. That must be a 2 by 2, and then that must be a 3 by 3. And we've divided the grid. Isn't that weird? Okay, I really like that. Now what do I have to do? Divide the grid into non-overlapping. Oh, we've got this funny thing about. Oh, we've got parity as well. Oh, parity will be interesting. So as we cross box borders here, the digits have to have the same parity, but we've also got mathematics to consider, because right, so something I can see. Look at that area of the grid. Now, this is going to be awkward actually. I wonder if this becomes a parity puzzle now. I need to shade it with different colours than I'm using at the moment. Maybe I've got to delineate the squares. Let me just try that then. So let me go to the pen tool. I'm going to actually just delineate these borders. I'm going to have to do the borders fully, otherwise that'll upset my OCD nature. So therefore we can do that, that. So we've only got one big square. We've only got one 4 by 4. Everything else is sort of 2 by 2s and 3 by 3s. Right, so let's do that. Now I think if I control a grid, it will, yeah, we can remove the colour. It feels a bit bare now, doesn't it? But what I want to look at is this square, because that square has whatever the parity is of this square. It's the same parity as this one, it's the same parity as this one, and then it's the same parity as that one, because those two must have the same parity. So that 2 by 2 little box there has all the same parity. But then look at the line. This cell sums to those two digits, but these have the same parity. So this must be an even digit. I don't know what the parity of that is, but I do know that's even, because it must prevent these two digits, when they're summed, from having a different parity to this digit and this digit on their own. So that must be even. In fact, the same is true of that square. That's got the same property. That square is the sum of those two, but they have the same parity, so that's even. And that's lovely. So now yellow can't be... in fact, we could have done this already. Yellow must be odd. Because look at box 5 now. It's a bit complicated, but look at box 5 rather than the squares, the red squares. In box 5 there are only 4 even digits, 2, 4, 6 and 8. So if these were even, there would be 6 even digits. So yellow is orange. We are meant to, we always use orange for odd digits and blue for even digits, because apparently they are the most colourblind friendly colours in our palette. So that's what we've grown accustomed to. I have been known to diverge from that rule when it comes to drawing islands and the sea and things like that, and people like to tell me off for it. But look, that's a box border, a square border I should say, so that's blue. That's a square border, so that's blue. So that's got to be orange by dint of having 5 even digits in box 5. And now we've got a whole load of other. So those are blue, those are blue. This is blue, this is blue. Just whenever we cross one of these red box borders, we can just mimic the parity as another. Look at that. So we get a sort of weird pattern. That is blue, so that is blue, and then that is blue, and that is blue. Now I've got 4 blues in columns 3 and 4, and we're quorate on blues, so we can fill the rest of it in with oranges. Yes, look, there's a certain symmetry going on now, I'm noticing, because this square is blue, so that's blue, and that's blue, and now I've done I've done all the blues that I'm expecting to find in rows 3 and 4, so all of these turn orange. I've got 5 oranges in box 1, so all of those turn blue. Oh, this is weird, because I feel like I've got 2 puzzles going on. I've got the underlying Sudoku. No, I was about... no. I was about to say things that were total and utter gibberish. I'm going to have to be very careful here. I keep looking at cells, and I'm about to announce that they are one parity or the other, and it's absolute nonsense what I'm about to say. So these 4 cells here, they all have the same parity. That's lovely. That is straightforward. Those digits all have the same parity, because these 2 have the same parity across their box border, and these 2 have the same parity as the cells above them. So they all have the same parity. They're all in box 6 of the Sudoku. So if these were all blue, there'd be 6 blues in box 6. So they are all orange, which means these are blue. And now oh no, I haven't. Oh, sorry, I was about to announce that I'd done rows 5 and 6, but no, I've done most of rows 5 and 6. I'm almost core-rate on my oranges, but not quite. Is it the same there, isn't it? Those cells. Again, they all have the same parity by dint of the boxes, and they can't all be blue, so they've all got to be orange, which means these are blue. Okay, I'm going to use this line. These 2 digits must sum up to this digit, so this can't be odd, or it would be very broken indeed. So it's 2 evens adding up to an even. That's rather... it's not done anything, has it? Well, no, it's done one thing. If we look at column 2 now, those 2 digits have the same parity, and they can't be even anymore because there'd be 5 evens in the column, so they have to be odd. And now I've done that row, so that's got to be even, which means that's even. Now I've got 4 evens in box 7, so they are all odd. I've got 4 evens in column 1, so that's odd. That's even by dint of counting up to 4 in this box. It's so strange, because I've not even thought about numbers yet. Okay, those 2 have the same parity. So if they were both even, these would both be odd. If these are both odd, oh, I see. Yes. Okay. So all right. Okay. There's 2 ways we could think about this, but here's a nice bit of logic. Here's a nice bit of logic. The sum of this line is always even, because let's view that as adding up to x. This will add up to x as well, won't it? So the sum of this is 2x, it's even. The sum of 2 even numbers is even. The sum of 2 odd numbers is even. So as we take those 8 cells into consideration, we must be on an even total. But there is a secret that I share with my very favourite people, and that secret is that a complete row of the Sudoku will contain the digits 1 to 9 once each, and the sum of a complete row of the Sudoku is 45, and 45 is odd. So that digit is odd by dint of that. And don't tell me that does absolutely diddly squat. Well, you might not tell me that, but it seems to be true. Bobbins. Oh, I've got another idea then. I must have to use the... Yeah, okay, I'm going to use this box, because we were told that the corners of the boxes have to add up to a number divisible by the number of cells in the box. Now there are 16 cells in this box here, which means the sum of the four corners must be even, because it's either going to be 16 or 32 or 48 is probably too many, but it's going to be something like that, isn't it? Those two are already even, so these two have to sum to even, but that's odd. So that is odd by dint of its nature. And now I've done all the odds in the bottom row, so they are even. Do I know anything about those two? I don't know. What's the mathematics of this line, this walking stick, or shepherd's crook? Let's call it a shepherd's crook. What's going on with the shepherd's crook? The sum of those digits is even. It's two odds and two even, so it adds up to even. That is even. So these two have the same parity. They're either both odd. Well, they're not both odd, because I've got four odds in the column already. So these are both even. That's lovely. So that's odd in the corner up there. I can get the parity of this one. Oh, but firstly, let's just fill in those as odd, in case that does something. Very clever, but it didn't. Right, this box here. Oh no, I can't, because it's, that's interesting. This is a 3 by 3, which means that the numbers in the corners here have to sum to something divisible by 9. The problem is if you double 9, you get 18, and 18 is even, it's not odd. So I don't know the parity of the four corner cells there, or the four corner cells there. Right. Oh, goodness. So, how do I finish this then? I want to do the colouring before I move on to any numbers. I don't actually see how to. I'm so sorry. If you can see how to do that, then you're a better man than I am, Gunga Din. Alright, so maybe we've got to look at numbers now. How do the numbers work? The numbers are... we've got the thing in the corners to think about. So, okay, so let's just mull that over for a moment. So a 2 by 2 box means the corners are divisible by 4. So those 4 digits are the 4 corners of that 2 by 2 box. They must be divisible by 4, and they must have the same sum as those 3 digits. So these 3 digits sum to a number that is divisible by 4, and they are all even. So the sum of all 4 even numbers is 20, which is itself divisible by 4. So I must miss out 4 or 8 from that total. So that is a 4 or an 8 in this column. But in order that this adds up to 16 or 12. But hang on, if that adds up to 12, that is an 8. That's impossible. That's actually really lovely as a step. So I hope that's clear. What I'm saying is those 3 digits have to add up to a number divisible by 4. As 20 itself is divisible by 4, the number I subtract from 20 must be divisible by 4, and that's the number that's not in the sum. Now if this was 8, these sum to 12, these have to sum to 12. But there's 3 different digits there, and the minimum sum of 3 different digits is, if this was 1, 2 and 3, that would be 6, wouldn't it? And 6 and 14 is not 12. 6 and 8 is 14, it's not 12. So this can't be an 8, so it must be a 4. Which means these squares are 2, 6 and 8. It means the total we're heading for here is 16. These 3 have to add up to 12. Wow, and there's literally no constraint at all on those. You could even include a 9 in the orange squares. Oh, that's weird. That's so strange. Okay. Sorry. Okay, well let's see if we can do anything with that. Can that really be 4? No, I'm going to claim. If that's 4, those two even numbers which are in the same box have to add up to 4. And they can't do that, because even if they were low and 2 and 4, they would still add up to 6. Right, so that's not 4. That's a 4. There's a 4 up here. There's a 4 here. There's a 4 here. 4 here. Just doing Sudoku. 4 here. Okay. Where else? Where's the... What's this saying? Does that have to be 9? Yeah, surely. Yes. What this is, this line is telling us that this digit is the sum of 3 different odd numbers. Well, the lowest 3 odd numbers are 1, 3, and 5, and they add up to 9. And we can't put more than 9 into any cell, can we? So in fact, we get some sort of symmetrical jiggery-pokery. That's giving us a 7 over here. So we might be able to come back to the maths of this in a minute. That's a 7. 7 in box 3 is in one of those squares. Don't know which one. 7 in box 2 is in one of those squares. So the 7 in this row is in one of those squares. 7 is in one of those squares. 7 is... 7 is... Look at this. 7 is... So where's 7 in column 3? And the answer is there. That's the only place it can go. I haven't looked at this line yet either, which let's look at this first of all. So what did we work out? These added up to 16. These add up to 11. So these add up to 5. And they don't use 4. So they're 2 and 3. And we know the order by the parity. So that's 2, that's 3. So there's a 3 in one of these by Sudoku. Sort of doing Sudoku on 3s in box 5. That square's not 2 anymore, so there's a 2 down here. So there's no 2 here. So there's a 2 in one of these squares by Sudoku in the bottom row. No 2 here, so there's 2 in one of those squares. I don't know if this is how you're meant to do this, but I'm having fun. Oh, yeah, no, this is easier than that. Where's 2 in this box? 2 can't be the sum of 2 different even numbers, so 2 must be there. 2's not there, so 2's on this line. That's probably what we're meant to look at next, but let's just keep going for a moment or two longer. No pun intended. Yeah, it must be this line now. So how does this line work? We've got that is the sum of that is the sum of this. 3. No, that's not 3 different numbers, is it? That's really annoying. I was about to say that's 3 different numbers. Oh, that can't be 9, though. Yeah, okay. Well, even if this was 1, 3, 1, which is the minimum it could be, this is at least a 5, and it can't be a 9. So that's 5. This is 5. Oh, whoopsie. 5 or 7. And this square has to therefore be 3 or 5, because it's being adjusted by 2, isn't it? That's possibly interesting. Oh dear. Oh, what does that mean? I don't know. There's all sorts of things that we're going to have to keep track of here. You know, like the sum of this having to be divisible by 4, the sum of those having to be divisible by 4. There's quite a lot going on. This square is 6 or 8. And it's the sum of... Oh, that's fine, isn't it? Well, it is, but where's 2 along this? There must be a 2 on that string. because 4 plus 6 is already 10, and this can't equal 10. So 2 is in one of those. This, oh no, it doesn't do it. Well, 2 is in one of those, so 2 is in one of these. Is that good? Probably not. What about the corners of box 1? Do we know something about those? This is, okay, these have to be divisible by 9. But, okay, and we know the parity of everything. Oh! Wait a moment. Oh, I like this. This is beautiful. Right, look. There's 3 odd numbers here and 1 even. So the total of the corners is odd, and the total of the corners is not 9, because these 3 digits cannot add up to 2, given we've already got a 7 in a corner. So I'm going to claim that these 4 cells have to add up to 27, which is very meaningful. These 3 have to add up to 20. That can't possibly be 2 in the corner. So 2 is in one of 2 places in box 3. So that square in the corner is a 6 or an 8. If it was a 6, these squares, oh, they would be 5 and 9, and that would be okay. Okay, well, they're either 5 and 9. If this is 8, these have to add up to 12, and they'd have to be 3 and 9. So there is definitely a 9 in one of those squares. There's definitely a 1 in one of these 2 squares. This square is a 6 or an 8. That square is actually the same as that square, because this can't repeat on its own line, can it? If those 2 digits were the same number, that would be a 0 by mathematics. So that digit and that digit are the same. Almost tempted to sort of try and keep track of that. They're up there somewhere. So that's the other high digit from the evens, which must be in one of those 2 squares. Yes, okay, so one question, a simple question. Where is the green digit in row 5? It's not in there, is it? So it's there. Which means the green digit must be down there in box 8, which means that the green digit must be there in box 9, and it's not a 2, it's a 6 or an 8. So this is a 2, which means this is not a 2, this is a 2. Well, that's a 2. This is so beautiful, actually. It's really surprising how this works. Right, so this is 6 or 8 now, and it's the same flavour of 6, 8 as that corner digit. This digit is 2 different from this digit, so that is 4 or 6. So now there must be a 6 in one of those 2 squares, because either this is 6 or this is 6, because that's 8 and we need a 6-2 pair here. So 6, oh, nearly. Oh, nearly, probably. One of those is purple. One of these is purple. Oh, that's quite good. Yeah. Yeah, one of those is purple by dint of Sudoku, and that means we already knew that was purple, I just hadn't thought about it. So purple is in here. So purple is in here. Purple is in there. Oh no, it's not quite, that's not quite going the way I want it to. Okay, maybe, well, let's try the corners of this one then. Do we know anything about those? Yeah, they add up to an even number, and also they need to be divisible by 9, so we're looking at 18 this time. So that means these 3 have to add up to 14. So if this was 6, this would be a 3-5 pair. If this was 8, this would be a 1-5 pair. So this is never 5. There's definitely a 5 in one of those 2. This is tricky. that is actually a 7-9 pair, isn't it, in this box? Can we do more with the mathematics of this 5-7? If this was 5, this would be 1, 3, and this would be 1. If this was 7, yeah, there's always a 1 in this domino, isn't there? That's perhaps where we start. Because if this was 3, 5, it already adds up to 8, and that's too big for this. So this definitely got 1 in it. And that oh, for goodness sake, that just places 1 in box 5 straight away. I hadn't seen that. So now 1 is in one of those. Can that be? Oh, that probably is 1. If that is not 1, in fact, it's 5 at least. And 5 here plus 1 plus 3 is too big to make this total. So that is 1. So these squares either add up, they're either a 1-3 pair or they're a 1-5 pair. So 9 is in one of those squares, look, in box 8. So 9 is in one of these squares in box 2. Which is very important for the following reason. Come on, brain, think of the reason. Naughty brain. Naughty brain, no idea. Okay, but if this is a 1, this has got to be a 4 or a 6 to make the maths work. Because they're adding up to 5 or 7. Golly gosh, I don't know. This is tricky, isn't it? I think probably I'm going to have to focus on some of the... I'm really perturbed that I haven't managed to finish off the shading there. I'm also perturbed that I have given very little thought to any number of these boxes and whether their corners are adding up to the right amount. In fact, let's check this one. Have I looked at this one recently? Because this one has to be divisible by 4. At the moment we're on 10. So these two could be, oh, they could be 6 and 4, because that 20 is divisible by 4. Or 24. Yeah, 24, 8 and 6. Oh, bother. Does there have to be a 6 involved, though? Yeah, if this was 4, 8, it wouldn't work, would it? So there is definitely a 6 in one of these. So that square is now either 4 or 8. Oh, that's so harsh. Let's try this one. We haven't looked at this one, I don't think. That one is 2 evens and 2 odds, so it adds up to even. So it adds up to 18. And these add up to at least 10. So these corners add up to a maximum of 8. So they don't... Oh, I was about to say they don't do... Well, oh, they don't involve 9. That's something we could say. Is that fair? That is actually interesting. Yeah, these squares are from 1, 3 and 5. Now, unless I am going loopy, that means that the 9 in box 7 is in one of those 3 squares. Or put more straightforwardly, where is the 9 now in this column? Column 3. And we know there's a 9 in one of the corner cells of box 1, so it has to be here, I think. So that's not 9 anymore. It's another digit we should be thankful for. That's... Oh no, this is great. Right, that's not 9. So that seems to have to be 9 in box 2. And that is odd, isn't it? So that is odd. Oh, no, that's right. So now I've got 5 odds in the row. So those are both even. They are not 7s, therefore. I've got all my odd digits in this column, so that's even, that's odd, therefore that's 7 by using our pencil marking. These are not 7 by using our pencil marking, that's 7. We've done column 7's parity, so that's even, and that is odd. 9 I can place straight away in box 3. These squares are 1, 3 and 5. Possibility of a 3 in the corner. We've got 16 here. Can we? I can't remember what we were going for over here. We were going for 27. So these add up to 11. Both ways round work. 8, 3 or 5, 6. You rotten thing. 1, 3, 5 here. 1, 3, 5 triple in the bottom row. So that's a 9. Which is, that's good. So that's 9. That's 7. Where is 7 in box 5? It's there. And that's going to do some damage, actually. That is going to do some damage, because now all of a sudden some of this stuff's getting resolved, isn't it? That has to be 5 now, which means that's 3. And that is working. It's 1 plus 5 plus 1 is 7. That's got to be a 6. So that's an 8. So green is 8 wherever we see it. This is a 2-8 pair in the bottom of box 8. That is a 4, which means it's not purple, because purple we know is 6 or 8. So purple is 6, 6, 6. The devil makes an appearance. That's 4, that's 4, that's 6. Let's get rid of the purples from those. This is 4 and 6. This is really quite exciting, because suddenly the puzzle seems to be being a lot friendlier. This is a 4-8 pair. These squares are 1, 3, 5. Oh, look at all these 1, 3, 5 triples all over the place. Oh, but that's 7. Okay, so that's 7. So that's 7. Have I done all the 7s? I think I have. There we go. Can I do all the 9s? Oh, probably not. Yeah, maybe though. That's a 9. 9 is... Oh no, look, we're going to get an X swing of 9s. Oh, it's probably going to be this box's... Oh no, that's not a box corner. These are the corners of that bottom box. Actually, I haven't even thought about. Let's have a think about them. So there are 4... Okay, so 16 is the total here, or 32. 32 feels very difficult. No, you can't get to 32. None of these can be big enough. Especially not as that's a 3. So we must be going up to 16. And okay, so how do we do this then? So these digits add up to 13. So if this was a 1 in the corner, these would have to add up to 12, and there is no way that works, I don't think. So there's a 1 up there, so that's not a 1. I want to write the 3 in the corner, but that's probably not that's not really a valid methodology, is it? Hang on. So what are we going? We can get 10 with 8 and 2. And with 6 and 2, oh, maybe this always has to be 2. Yeah, if this is 8, it's too big, isn't it? Maybe that's the simplest way of thinking about it. If this is 8, we're on 11. These have to add up to 5, which they just can't do. So that's always 2. That's always 8. So 8's in one of these squares. 2's in one of these squares. Oh, sorry, I've got an 8 there as well. That would be useful if I used that. Oh, so now I must just be able to write in the corner. I've got 5 in the corner, I think. Let me just double check the maths. 8 and 8 is what we need. So that's 5 in the corner. That's 5. This is a 1-3 pair. That's not 5. These aren't 5, so this is 5. This is not 5 anymore. These squares here are, well, we can do them. They're 8, and that's 5, I guess. I wonder actually if we can. No, that's probably false hope. I was wondering how far we could get with the even digits now, because yeah, that 6 is interesting. So we get 6, 8, 6 here. So this is 13. That needs to be 4, 2, 2, 8, 4, 8, 4. And that must be 6, 4. And we can get rid of the purplification of this digit. And we can purplify the 6. Purplify the 6. Double click. Oh, I tried to double click the 6s. Shank. Double click the 8s. And all of those need to be greened. And all of the even digits in the puzzle are done. I mean, there must be so many of these boxes now that are resolved. I just have to focus on them. Let's do this one. So we need a number divisible by, an even number divisible by 9. So we're looking for 18. We've got 14, so this is a 1-3 pair, and that's 5 in the middle of them. Which means that's not 5. So 5 goes over here, 5 goes here. I've got loads of 1s and 3s. I don't know which box it is that's going to sort this out, but this box needs a 1 in it. And these squares are 3 and 3, 9. It's a 3, 9 deadly pattern, but it's not really deadly, is it? Because it's going to be these boxes. Let's do the corner box up here. So we've got, at the moment, we've got 15. We need 18. So that's 3 in the corner. That's 3 in the spotlight, losing its religion. This is a wonderful puzzle. It really is. Look, is this going to... Yeah. That's another 3 in the corner. That's 3 in the spotlight, losing its religion. Now, one of these has got to work now. So this needs to be divisible by 4. We're on 21. So 3 would work. And 30 would not work. It's not divisible by 4. So that's 3, that's 9. Now let's check this one works. Where we've got 20. Well, that's beautiful. That works. That does the 9 and the 3. And there we go. Isn't that... beautiful? What a beautiful puzzle. It's a couple of months old, look. Not many solves really, 28. And that deserves a lot more solves. It's fantastic. Jolly Rogers, what a debut. There's about 3 or 4 distinct parts to that puzzle, or at least the way I solved it. So there's sort of find the boxes, find out how this thing works. Then do the parity, mostly. Then start to think about the sort of sum lines and how they work. And they were all really, really interesting. You can't ask more from a puzzle than that. Just really a quality debut and a lot of fun. An hour of pleasure. I hope you had a go. Let me know in the comments how you got on. I enjoy the comments, especially when they're kind. And we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.